Hello again, you beautiful infinite beings. We're onto your path of exploring the infinite, your infinite potential, your infinite truth, and ultimately your infinite self. Today I'm going to be speaking about minimalism and organization. In specific, I'm going to be talking about how a minimalistic and an organized lifestyle affects your energy, affects your psychological well-being, and your energetic patterns. So essentially the whole concept of minimalism revolves around less is more, and you've probably heard this term more than not. It was said by the architect, the pioneer of modern architecture, the architect Ludwig Mies, and before that by a poet, Robert Browning, and essentially it's traced all the way back to Chilon of Sparta, one of the seven sages of Greece during ancient Greek times. And the key to that is, of course, buying less and shopping less and not buying more than you need or use. But that's not the case for many of us. That's not the case for many people around the world, in which people could obsessively shop and they could, many people, it's as a way of coping, as a coping mechanism, and some are just addicted to hoarding more and more objects in fear of loss and fear of not catching up and falling for marketing ploys, and people are just obsessively relying on hoarding more and more material objects as a way of coping with life and stress, whether in fact it just adds to the stress. Psychologically, there has been plenty of psychological research since decades on the concept of an organized lifestyle, and which follows the concept of minimalism and owning less in general, or asceticism. You may have heard it over and over and over again that perhaps the one of the greatest paths to freedom, or as a tool towards freedom, is an aesthetic lifestyle, being an aesthetic person and just owning what you know that you need and what you actually use. And the reason is that because it couldn't be any truer. Psychological research from universities all around the world has shown that having lots of stuff around your place, having a messy place, or owning more than you need, whether it's in attachment, whether it's in fear of loss, regardless, it just adds to the stress and it curbs your creativity, your creation energy, your creating energy, your productivity, in which you're gonna go somewhere. And if there's the more objects, material there are in your workplace, for example, the less you're gonna be focused, the less energized you're gonna feel, the less willing you're gonna feel, you're gonna be to work. You're not. It's where in contrast, if your desk, if your work desk is empty and it's very organized and very minimalistic architecture, you're going to be very excited to work and you're going to be very energized and you're going to feel like you want to do more and produce more. And the reason is because it all stems back to energy. The fact is, when you keep owning more stuff than you need, what you vibrate on is loss of fear of loss. What you vibrate on is fear of not being enough, not having enough. It vibrates on attachment, on meaningless attachment, and not being in control, as in not being in control of buying what you need, of buying based on your needs and usage. And what that does is that it imprints on the rest of your life. If you're not in control of a habit, you give out that energy that you're not in control. It doesn't matter what you're not in control of. It's just the base energy is not being in control, and then you're gonna see that imprint on when you're working, when you go to work. You're not gonna feel, when you go to that place where there with those many objects, you're not gonna feel motivated and energized enough to put the effort to work, because you're not in control. So you're not going to be in control of that. The more you try to gain control over any field in your life, the more you're going to see the effect of the energy you're vibrating of not being in control. And just like being grateful for one specific thing, it's gonna imprint on the rest of your life. It makes you, it gives you more of other things, because you're content with and grateful for whatever that thing is, and it just imprints on the rest of what you have to deal with in your life. It doesn't just give you more of that thing, you don't just receive back more of that thing. In the same manner, if energetically, when you own the more than you need or use, what you're vibrating on essentially is that you have way more than enough. And what you're basically doing is that you're shutting off your field of receiving, because now you have too much on your plate. You have more than the capacity of your energy to hold things, because those are things that are lying there meaningless, so there isn't energetic space for them in your life, but you still are hoarding them. So you're basically just choosing not to receive because you have enough. And so what that does is that it burdens you down. If you carry more than you can hold, you're gonna live your life burdened and feeling heavy without a reason, which adds to your stress, which adds to your fatigue, which adds to the downfall of your general well-being. So, and also regarding attachment, when you're attached to these things, when you're not able to give up these things, when you're not able to give, your attachment translates to you putting value in these things, even though they don't really hold true meaning to you, but you're assigning value to whatever certain amount of value to these things because of your attachment. Attachment translates to value in energy, and that also you can only give that much value, you can only assign that much value. And so you're gonna be essentially taking value out of other things subconsciously, unconsciously, and then you're gonna see things slipping away from you in life, things that you might actually want, but because you've already assigned too much value in many different directions, in many different material objects, then you're, one way or another, you're stripping something else from a certain amount of value until there's no more value in these things, and they're gonna stop existing in your life. And giving, when you're unwilling to give, when you're unwilling to give up these things, you're also blocking your what you're vibrating on. To take it a step back, what you're vibrating on is that you do not have enough. You're in lack, you're in fear of lack, you're in fear of loss, and that means that you don't have enough. So vibrating on this kind of energy is very dangerous, because when you vibrate on not having enough, what happens is not that you get more, you continue not having enough. And so whatever you actually want in your life will end up not happening, will end up getting further and further from you, the more you fear that you're not enough, that you're not gonna have whatever you want. You fear giving this thing because either you're attached to it, or because in fear of maybe sometime, someday, you might need it and not have it, which is totally not the case. You just put on your plate what you eat for that meal. You don't put on your plate what you're gonna eat for the next year. And so hoarding stuff that you might need in a few years, who knows what you're gonna be in a few years, who knows what you're gonna be doing, who you're gonna be, it just doesn't make sense. And so by giving, you're saying that, oh, I have more than enough, I'm not in need of this thing. And it's not just about this thing, it's not just in the context of whatever material thing you're giving up, but in general, you're vibrating, I'm not in need. And so when you're not in need, how life reacts to that is that it will really make you not in need of anything. And so whatever you actually want and whatever you actually desire is going to end up coming to you one way or another. And you see, this is a very big, a very important note here, is that life reacts to you. You don't react to life, because unfortunately we live most of our lives thinking that I'll do this once this happened to me in life. I'll be this once. I just need this thing, one thing to happen in order for me to make this transformation, to take this step, or to do this or that. But life actually works the other way around. It reacts to whatever you are, to whatever you become, to whatever basically you vibrate on. Essentially, it's what you feed to your subconscious, to what you feed to your true essence, to your infinite self, to your divine energy, is what ends up being your life. And so when you think about it this way, when you think of that, you realize how hoarding more than you need could be very dangerous, could be the key to many of your problems, to be the key to the reason why you're in lack, or why you feel in lack, or why you're in loss of many things in your life. So giving is the right thing to do once you've realized that you're holding on to more things than you need or use. And following that, what comes next is organization. And this, from a psychological point of view, holds the most effect when it comes on to being productive and feeling well. And because it's been found that whenever you're trying to work around a messy environment, the cortisol levels in your, which is the hormone, the stress hormone, the hormone responsible for your stress, keeps getting higher and higher. Your body keeps emitting this, releasing this hormone, and making you feel that the task on hand is way harder than it actually is. And that's why you might end up not even starting to. And that's all related to just, that all roots back to you having more objects than you can hold. Now, of course, you can be organized even with lots of stuff, with lots of material stuff around you, but the more stuff you hoard, the more it's gonna become harder to organize yourself, the more it's gonna be, and with time this builds up, and it it stops you from functioning healthily. Basically, when you're not when a small task could feel like it's a huge task, then you're definitely gonna procrastinate. You're gonna keep many things undone, and that even translates to more in your energy that you're not doing, that you're not being productive. Then, so when you're not producing, don't expect anything being produced in your life. Don't expect life reacting to you with production of things you want. So just, it could be very hard sometimes, I know. Just looking at it this way could help with giving up these things, could help with holding yourself back the next time you wanna buy aimlessly or go shopping when you're not in need. You're basically just shopping as a coping mechanism. You're buying more and more stuff because you're fearing something, or you're, whenever you're in a, you go into a conflict or in a negative situation, you react based on your ego. You react, you go back into survival, and then your fears come out, so you deal with what you're most in fear of, and that's not having enough, not being enough, or loss, or attachment. You go for things to put your energy in, and that's, and be attached to, and make yourself feel better that you have this sort of attachment. And in reality, it all just weighs you down, it all just make your life worse. So lighten your bag. And perhaps it's been said over and over that the greatest path of freedom is not owning anything. And that's why you hear lots of stories about monks, or even some regular spiritual people, they going on selling everything they own and giving up everything, and just going in a journey somewhere far from material, to break this attachment, to realign yourself with your true essence and forget about your ego, to break the attachments and the values that's been assigned by the ego in whatever meaningless things. And by doing so, you're gaining freedom. You're actually taking a huge step towards being free, really free. So think about that when you go by in your life. Whenever the next time you feel that an easy task that you're procrastinating for no reason, think about that. Look around you and think if there's something that you should give up. You know, or the next time on your shopping trip, think about that. And I hope I hope we can take the step in towards these virtues for a greater purpose. And with that, good luck to you in all of your endeavors, and hope you have a great day. If you've liked this video, please subscribe and hit the like button. Thank you.